All right, guys, welcome back to Standing in the Gap with Chad and podcast. I want to thank you guys for so much for what you guys have been doing to watch and share these videos. This is for you guys. That's why we're doing this. As candidates, as me, we want you guys to be informed. There are a few candidates that are really busy and some that may not get to sit down with me. We're trying to get every candidate scheduled before the elections, but we're just doing the best we can, okay? All right, today I have a special guest from Abingdon, Virginia. Her name is Miss Crystal Rasnake, and she's running for school board member in the Harrison district. All right, Miss Rasnake, thank you for sitting down with me.
Yes, thank you for having me.
I've really had a good time with meeting all of these different people, these different candidates, the different views. I've enjoyed what I've done. I really didn't expect this to go anywhere, but God just opened the door up. I obeyed, and He's just made it work so far. All right, so I don't really know a whole lot about you. In a little bit of small talk. I know we know a few of the same people, been to some of the same churches over the years, so I know that much about you. So first question, I don't know if you've watched any of these interviews, but okay, so you know what my first two questions are. So first I want to ask you if you would allow, are you a Christian, and if so, would you give us your testimony of knowing the Lord?
Yeah, so I was really excited about this opportunity. I am a Christian, and I'm really excited to kind of share my testimony. When I was 18, I had my first child. So being an 18-year-old, world kind of didn't want a lot to do with me.
Yeah.
The people that did love me and wanted stuff to do with me, I kind of walked away from them. It was a really hard time in life.
Yeah.
But during that, God came and He sent a preacher to my house. My son had, I think it was right before my son was born. Preacher came to my house, talked to me about Jesus, talked to me about the Lord, planted that seed.
Awesome.
That church was very close to where I was living at the time. So when my son was 2 weeks old, I went to that church and I gave my heart to God.
Praise the Lord.
Got saved, and He's completely changed my life. Am I perfect? By no means. Do I struggle every day? Yes.
Yeah.
But
that's the human.
Yes, it is. But He leads, guides, and direct me. That child is now 15, and he's saved and serving God.
Praise the Lord.
I'm married with a 7-year-old who actually last week decided to give his heart to the Lord.
Praise the Lord.
So very exciting things. So I'm excited to share that with you.
That is awesome. No wonder you're excited to give us your testimony. That's pretty awesome. To that point, really quick, times have changed a lot from when I'm older than you, I'm sure. But we actually have a sign behind us that they can't see called Embrace Grace. And the church has a program here where we specifically work with young women that were going through what you did. And we find that the church here really gathers around expecting mothers, especially those that don't have anybody or feel outside it. So I'm glad to know that people have recognized, man, life's life.
Yeah.
And God doesn't care where we came from. He cares about where we're going.
Yes.
And I'm glad for that. Sorry about the little tangent for the information. All right. So tell us about your background.
Yeah. So my educational background is in human services. Okay. I got my associate's degree from Highlands Community College.
Right.
And then got my bachelor's degree from Bluefield. That's all in human services. I feel like I have a heart to serve, and that's what I wanted to do. However, work experience has all been in early childhood education.
Okay.
So I started out with People Incorporated with their Head Start program, worked there for 8 years in numerous roles. Started out as a family advocate working directly with those families, helping them set goals and meet goals. From that, I did their enrollment for 4 years, and then ended up my last 2 years there doing mental health and disabilities.
Good deal.
So with that, I helped children who were having challenging behaviors or might have had special needs, and it wasn't recognized yet, get in and get the services that they need.
Yeah.
Connect those with the school system or early intervention. I also worked with the teachers in the classroom to help them address those issues and needs inside the classroom. The past 2 years, I've been at United Way of Southwest Virginia, where I work with what is called Ready Region of Southwest Virginia, and we work with all the early childhood education providers in Southwest Virginia from Lee County to Montgomery County.
Oh, wow.
So my part is dealing a lot with coordinated enrollment, collaboration, getting key stakeholders together around the table to make sure that all these young children are being served in a high-quality child care center if that's what the parents choose.
Good deal. So knowing that you work and what you do with United Way, some of these questions may be a little challenging because not everybody wants to hear the right answers. And I don't know how you're going to answer some of these questions, and I'm anxious to find out, just like I'm sure they are. So depending on what your answers are, I guess it could be hard or it could not be too hard. I know that I gave you these questions short notice, so to speak, just enough for you to be able to say, okay, this is the direction we're going. I do that for every candidate. When they say, yes, we will meet, this is the date, as soon as we confirm it's the date, I try to give them the questions so that they have a day to kind of look over them. So we know about you a little bit, but what do you know about the school board? What does a school board member do? What do they oversee? Those kind of things.
Yeah. So I think people really need to realize that the school board is there to be policymakers. We're elected representatives that are there to be policymakers. So we're there to set and monitor the school board goals, to set and monitor policies. The school board reviews all the policies that the school has, kind of set and inform those, of course, based on some state guidance and everything we have to go through. Another big thing that the school board does is approve the annual budget. So as the money comes down, then the school board is responsible for approving that budget. And then I think one of the most exciting things is being that bridge between the community and the school system. And the community and the schools. So we're there to kind of be that bridge to hear what people have to say, relay that back to the schools. We're not there to technically run the schools. They have administration and staff that do that, and they're the expertise in that. We're just kind of overseeing from
kind of
my
accountability.
Yes.
Okay.
From the top level.
I got you. Okay, so that I realized. Well, I didn't realize this. I learned this. That school board members actually typically don't have any political affiliation. They're not really endorsed by a Republican Party or Democrat or Independents. However, I believe, and I just realized my word, it's I say a lot. Sorry. So we don't always think about that. We see a political spectrum, but we carry what we believe in our hearts everywhere we go as Christians. How we believe about Christ and the moral and the ethics and all that. That's part of who we are. So when we go to work or we go to the store or whatever, they go with us.
Yeah.
And those same ideas, if you're a Republican or a Democrat or whatever, those same ideas go with us. There's no way really in my mind to really distinguish or separate those things. So if you could, how would you describe yourself on the political spectrum from the furthest of right to the furthest of left? Where are you?
Yeah, well, that's a really good question. I have tried to run my campaign as nonpartisan as I can. I've really tried to stay neutral on the political spectrum. However, like you said, we do have beliefs and values that we all run on. I like to say I'm a conservative Christian. I'm by no means far right, but I do lean more towards the conservative end on the spectrum. And I think a lot of that stems from my Christian beliefs.
And, that's kind of how I am as a Christian and a preacher. I have my views, but when I sit down with individuals doing this, I'm not going to argue with them. It's not my place to argue. It's my job to ask the questions and let them make the decision. I don't really even say, somebody says, hey, who would you vote for? I'm like, watch the videos. That's what I try to tell them. Watch the videos. That's why I done this. But I do agree we need to be bipartisan and be open-minded, but at the same time, there's some foundational points that we have to stand on. So I appreciate that. All right, so that kind of stands for your political views and for how your views would play into the role of school board member. So that's an ask and answer question. Number 5, that's an ask and answer question. Political views in the school board member. Just like you said, your political views is very little, but your beliefs is what dictates your job. How do you feel about the curriculum that is in the state of Virginia?
So from my point of view at this point, and the only knowledge I have a lot of is I have 2 children in Washington County schools, one in elementary and one in high school. So at this point, I am good with it. I don't see anything wrong with it at this point, anything controversial or anything. I will, if it's okay, elaborate into the question too. I do think that sometimes the curriculum we're teaching to the SOL testing, and would like to see more how kids can get more real life experience and everything that they're going to need to go out into the field, into the workforce, out into life. Because I do think sometimes teachers are having to teach to that test. Yeah. And I would like to see us somehow get away from that some.
Yeah. Adam Wilson and I sat down and done an interview, and I've really tried to get Gary Andis and I can't remember the other gentleman's name. Sam Osborne, thank you. I thought it was Sam, but I couldn't remember his last name. I've reached out to them, I guess 3 times each, and talked to them, but I've never got a response back as to whether they want to sit with me. But Adam and I were sitting here talking and interviewing together, and there was something that he said, or that we were talking about. It really feels like in a lot of ways the teachers have to teach how to memorize. Instead of actually teaching the curriculum, they're having to basically teach them how to memorize. I absolutely hate the SOLs. I really don't like them. I wish that the state of Virginia would recognize they're not really doing any good with those. They really aren't. I think, and this is my opinion, I think teachers ought to have a little bit of freeway or leeway under the subjects of the school system: math, English, science, history. If it goes before the principal and he's okay with it or she's okay with it, let them teach that. To that point, how do you feel that you've got kids in school? How do you feel that the curriculum holds to traditional truths, what we know to be truth? And I say that to say this, there's a lot of problems with across the United States and maybe in Upper Virginia where views get handed down from cities into rural areas. That's not necessarily right. There was a pretty big debate on CRT in Washington County a few years ago, and some different things like that. How do you feel about these truths? Do you think that the school system and the curriculum today holds pretty true to the truth?
I mean, from what I've seen, I think so. I think so too. Just touching on that SOLs, I think we have to have some form of accountability. We have to have some way to track and measure that children are learning and that they're growing.
Absolutely.
Coming from an early childhood background, though, I would like to see us start focusing more on like those assessments earlier in children, so we can through those assessments, then we can catch children maybe. see what they're lacking in and then target in on that. But as far as the curriculum, like I said, from what I'm seeing from my children, I'm fine with it. I do think it holds to the truths, and I don't have any problems with it. Now, as I get into the school board, maybe I'll see things I don't see from this standpoint, but from this standpoint.
Something that I'll touch on, and there's a reason for this, is how do you feel about homeschools or charter schools?
Yeah. So homeschools and charter schools, I think both, it goes back to parent choice. I think whatever the parent feels is best for their family, and their child. I want to make sure that our homeschool children have access to extracurricular activities or other, that they're able to be involved in those activities and different things, so they're getting that social interaction. But, I think both of those go back to whatever feels right for the parents and the choice for that family.
Yeah. The reason why I asked that question, working in the school system, I drove a school bus for 9 years. I taught at the Neff Center as a long-term substitute teacher. I noticed that there were basically three tiers of students. There were those who struggled, those that were kind of average, and then those that excelled to some varying degree. And it really makes it hard for a teacher to try to teach to three different levels of learners, and to try to find a way to reach someone who's more advanced than someone who's behind.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think that a charter school or something, I struggle to see a way for the public school system to address that issue. But and this is just my personal, and I want to turn it into a question. But I think students would have a whole lot better chance of success if they had a teacher that could teach to their level.
Yeah. So that's a big proponent of my campaign. I have worked firsthand with families in Washington County schools, and I've seen what families struggle with. I've seen what you're talking about. So I'm a big proponent and want us to try to figure that out. How can we, the goal is everyone to be up here, but how can we not just give everyone the same playing field, but make that where we're meeting each child's needs?
Yeah.
How can we invest in this child and what they need to get them where they're at when this other child's already there? I don't have all the answers, but coming from early childhood development, this is a lot of what we do in early childhood, is meeting those kids, because you have 3 and 4 and 5-year-olds all in a classroom at very different developmental levels.
Yeah.
And a teacher having to kind of adjust and individualize. So that is something I'm very invested in.
Good deal. All right. So from here, the questions get a little bit harder, but it's real problems that our community really wants to see dealt with. Those issues that I've heard, that when you start getting into these kind of issues, that the state wants to really kick back. And from what I understand, you really don't know until you get there what kind of pressure you can push back on the state versus what they're going to make you do. But these are questions that people want to know. So, again, I'm going to go ahead and state my own personal beliefs. So, as a Christian and as a preacher, I do not hate anyone that is gay, homosexual, LGBT, whatever the alphabet is. I don't hate them. But my Bible teaches me that what they do is wrong. Because it's wrong, I will not judge them. It's not my place to judge. But they do have to understand that one day they're going to have to deal with those consequences on their own. What my job is to be a friend, a preacher, an evangelist, a counselor, to be there for them. I don't agree with what they do. I don't condone what they do, but it's their decision to make. Fair enough? Okay. So, with that said, the whole gay, transsexual, I don't know what it's called, but some kids think they're animals. But let's address that secondly. When it comes to the whole trans issues and gay issues, especially in the public schools, what do you think? How do you see that?
Yeah, so I mean, this goes back to, as you said, my Christian values. I mean, as a Christian, I don't approve that. I don't agree with it. And I think that as a school person member, some people believe that I'm trying to come into this to push my religion onto people. And I've said this before, but I'm not here to push my religion onto no one. Jesus didn't push religion onto anyone. I'm here to stand for, I come into this with every decision I make with my Christian values in that.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, as you said, I'm here to love everyone. This is National Bullying Month. And I think one thing that we see a lot is these children are getting bullied, and they should never be bullied. That's something no child should have to go through. But at the same time, I don't agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to making policies or decisions on that, I would stand with my Christian backgrounds.
Yeah.
On that. Does that make sense?
No, I understand that. And just to my point of this, and I think you might agree with this, I see that children should be children and teenagers. Adam Wilson made a point that was pretty straight up that I agreed with. They come in as little boys or little girls, and they need to graduate as little boys or little girls. Once they get out of school and they're 18 and they can do whatever they want to do. But during the school, we should be focusing on education.
Exactly.
And their well-being, and we cannot and should not be trying to cater to every little well-being. There's some foundational values that the schools should stand for that really helps young people to grow.
Yes, I agree.
We need to focus more on the education.
Yes.
And that's my opinion. I think that's kind of what you're saying.
Yes.
Is that correct?
It is.
Okay.
I was actually going to say that. So
okay.
Yes.
Okay. So that's just okay. So when it comes to, I know that there are a few of these instances where young people have decided that they are a cat or a dog or some kind of animal. How does the school deal with that?
Well, I'm not for sure how they're dealing with it, but my husband does work in the school systems and he works maintenance. So we've had people reaching out to us, hey, are there litter boxes in the schools? Hey, are there this? From the schools he works in and the information we have, there is not that. I don't know about children identifying as that or what the schools are doing, but I do think it's important for the community as they hear these things. Some might be true, some might not be true.
Exactly.
To reach out to your school system, to reach out to your school board member and talk about it before we get this information maybe misspread. And that's what we have seen and that's what we've been told. But
Right.
as far, I apologize. I don't know how the school handles that when that gets brought to them.
Well, now, honestly, a lot of these questions isn't just something that I came up with.
Oh, yeah.
These are questions that I hear when I talk to people because I like to talk. I'm pretty good at it.
Yeah.
If I can make a living at it, that would be great, but I'm never going to make a living.
You'll be a YouTube star.
Yeah.
You're on your way.
Yeah, that's it. There's a lot of problems that we have, and one of which we talked about was critical race theory. One of the questions that I ask in these is there's a real push. It really feels like, I'm not going to say that it is, but it really feels like pretty much any program that wants to go into the public school system can, except church. Mm-hmm. One of the things that's really being pushed on a national level is a move towards agnostics and atheism. I don't necessarily agree with the separation of church and state. However, I do believe that we carry our values with us and our beliefs. How does the school board treat, how should the school board treat when organizations want to come into the school system to teach things, especially if it's not bipartisan and equal?
Yeah. No, that's a really good question. I think they really are going to have to start looking more into that. I think it's something they're going to have to take each case by case, see what the scenario is, what is the organization looking to do, who to talk to. And then, some of them just say no. But I think that's a case-by-case scenario where there would have to be a lot of information presented to see what the organization is, what they're wanting to do. And then, like I said, in some situations, no, maybe it's better, like you said, if it's really nonpartisan, we just stay away from it. However, it was asked to me in one of my forums, about separation of church and state pretty much. And I believe that religious freedom is one of the most fundamental rights we have as Americans. As I've already said, I'm not here to push my religion on anyone, but I think we should have opportunities for children. If that's extracurricular activities, clubs, different things where children can learn about Christianity in that manner, would love to see that happen.
One of the things that's not really talked about so much anymore, as a matter of fact, we've kind of pushed away from it, is whether you love the Bible or not, whether you believe in God or not. The Bible teaches a lot of moral and ethics, and having that foundation of morals and ethics goes a long ways. The Bible teaches us standing up for what you believe in. There's a lot of Bible stories that could be given to children. David stood up to Goliath. There's the bully.
Yeah.
The one being bullied. So there's a lot of things, but it seems like most people don't really want to take the Bible for that aspect. And I wish that they would give it a chance, because there's a lot of good things that can come from learning, even from a historical or from just a principles point. Let's see what is being done to really help parents being more involved with their students in school, and what do you think kind of needs to be done, if anything, to bring the teachers, the schools, and the parents together for the betterment of the children?
Yeah, I think this is something that within going into the school year that Washington County Schools is doing an amazing job of. Like I said, having 2 students in the school system, the open lines of communication has improved tremendously. First and foremost, from the elementary school, we get there's an app, and we get numerous notifications from the principal, reminders about events, everything coming up, anything that happens. We also get open lines of communication with his teacher. From the high school level, same thing. The high school's even sending out what's going to happen the next week at the high school, different events. So I feel like the line of communication has opened up tremendously. The school board is even, there is a newsletter that's now going out. I'm not sure how often it's going out, but it's even talking about what happened in the school board meetings. All this is public to the community. Washington County Schools has really upped their social media presence, and they even now have an app, mostly for parents, but it informs you of everything that's going on. So I feel like going into this school year has been the best communication that I've seen in a long time, and it's much appreciated from a parent being in the school system.
Good. This is a question that's nationally caught recognition, and again, things nationally tend to dwindle down in rural areas. Do you think that teachers and school staff should help students hold information back from their parents, or do you think parents should be completely aware of what's going on?
Yeah, I agree with parents should be completely aware of what's happening with students. If something's going on with my student, my child, I want to be told about it. And I feel like parents should be told about everything.
Yeah. I've got a question I'm kind of holding back because we've kind of asked about it, but I'm going to save it for the last question and kind of give it to you, that question and your free time to talk as well with that. So I did skip one for now. In regards to inflation and the economic conditions, it's pretty obvious that inflation continues to go up, and it really puts a burden on the parents of these students. What are some things that you think could be done or should try to be done to try to help parents with this?
Yeah, so I think one thing that's already happening is the school nutrition program. Every child in Washington County Schools gets free and reduced lunch. So that's a huge burden off parents, not having to pay for lunch, pack lunches, kids having that access to those healthy meals. The school system is now also working on implementing kind of like an after school snack. My oldest son is in band, so he is at school till almost 6 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
So through the CACFP program, the schools are being able to offer those students who are staying after school for activities or different things an extra meal, which is amazing. Also, something that happened this year at Greendale, and I don't really know all the logistics, but the Greendale PTO has worked extremely hard over the past few years, and they were able to help purchase a majority of the school supplies for the parents. So we had very minimal that we had to purchase. So I think anything where we can look at parent-teacher organizations, they do a lot of events like Popsicle Day. Everyone's sending $1. Popsicles are very cheap, so they're making money off that. But in return, they're investing it back into the students and the teachers. So I think anything like that we can do really takes that burden off parents will help.
Yeah. I know there's several churches in the community. Even our church here at Grace Tabernacle, we try to do a drive to get as many backpacks and paper and pencils or crayons and things like that, supplies, so that the students going to school have a backpack that's pretty well packed and ready for them to have stuff to go with. I've actually been looking forward to these interviews with the school system because my heart really goes out to young people. And I know that we want to see our young people succeed.
Yeah.
So this is supposed to be the last question, but I skipped one to say, if elected or re-elected, which in your position, elected, what are some things that you would like to try to accomplish or feel that needs to be worked on?
Yeah, well, I feel like my campaign is really based off of the mission statement of Washington County Schools, which is to see that every child succeeds. And I think the school system does that, and I want to get behind that and back it and see that continue to move forward. As we talked about, making sure that every student has access to meet their educational goals. Every goal is going to look different. Some children might want to go straight into college. Some might want to get a technical career. How can we make sure that we are supporting these children and helping them meet that goal? And I think with that, it goes into everyone knows we've got to pay our teachers better. We've got to have high compensation and benefits. School board has did an amazing job since July of raises. I can't even keep up with now how many raises have happened since July, but it's been amazing. They've also been able to think of creative ways to find raises beside of just state money. So they've been partnering a lot with the board of supervisors and looking at other areas where in the budget maybe money was sitting left over. How can they invest that? So I think the more we can invest in our teachers, that helps. And I'm also a proponent of more than just the money. We need employee recognition. We need these people to feel valued. All staff. I believe it takes a village to raise these children. It takes everyone from the custodians, the cooks, the bus drivers, maintenance, to the teachers to make this succeed. So really investing in every staff member and just showing them how much we appreciate them, because they're the ones day in and day out doing this work.
Yeah. All right. So this last question I'm going to give you, and then I'm just going to give you a few minutes to kind of talk further about something that we didn't discuss or a point that you'd like to make. America is ranked across the world statistically. We're really kind of low according to statistics around the world. Virginia's, doing pretty good nationally, number 5. I believe 38th in math and 14th overall in science. So there's definitely room for improvement. I think it's pretty obvious that I want to see Washington County be the candle burning in Southwest Virginia that lights Virginia's pathway. I'd like to see Virginia become the candle that burns and shows the United States how to succeed. How do we do that?
I think it goes back to a lot of what I just said. I think staff turnover is high, and when you have high staff turnover, then you don't have consistency in classrooms. And a lot of staff are turning over because of pay in general. And a lot of that I see in early childhood education. So I can't speak as much about staff turnover in the schools, but I think the more we can invest in every single employee, the more they feel that they do matter, because they do, the more bought in they'll be, the more invested they are in the children, and the children will see it. And then I think it goes back to, just individualizing as much as we can with these children, figuring out, if we start assessments early, we can figure out where children are lacking to help them get tutoring or into special education if maybe that's something they need, or all these different resources that are out there for mental health, special education. And if we can identify that early, then we can help these children succeed. If we wait and identify in their older ages, we've got a lot of backtracking to do. So I'm a big proponent of, helping, starting out with the school system serves 3 and 4 year olds. We got to start with them, and then just continue to work our way up and support every child. And the more we invest in them, the better outcomes we're going to see.
Good deal. Anything else you'd like to add?
No, I think we've covered it. And I appreciate you having me, though.
Oh, that's nice, Bob. I'm glad to have an opportunity to sit down with you. Guys, I want you to know that voting has already started. You can vote early. If you haven't voted, please get out and vote. The 2 candidates is Heather Evans and, of course, Crystal Rasnake. If they're in the Harrison district, vote. Voting is important. Local elections really matter. And being informed, that's what I'm here to try to do, is get you informed, to know who and how to vote, where to vote, and all these things. So I really appreciate you visiting. If you like these videos, please like, subscribe, share. I am transitioning slightly as the elections near and the candidates that I can interview are dwindling, more into informative side, touching with different people, different topics on things that are going on locally, things that are going on nationally, and just looking at problems and solutions from a biblical, common sense objective. But also, I love hearing people's testimonies. And I've got some good people coming that's been through some really rough things, that have a tremendous testimony that I think would do you and me both good. So until next time, have a blessed day. Thank you.